Hey guys, this week we're going to be talking about two silly patents that we saw on or I found on the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office kind of USPTO database. So the first patent that we're going to be talking about is actually underground nuclear detonation for power. It's a patent filed by Rod P. Dixon, who received a patent entitled Recovery of Geothermal Energy by Means of Underground Nuclear Detonations on February 8th, 1972. So the patent had just one claim and two figures, which described a process of power generation in which a hole is drilled into the center of the earth deep enough to prevent venting of the detonation, i.e., nuclear fallout. A nuclear bomb is then lowered into this hole and detonated, and water is pumped in the hole immediately. When the nuclear detonation happens, there's a large amount of energy released, so the water is basically converted into steam and shot back up through the hole. Um, and basically, you use that steam to then power a steam turbine and generate energy. What's funny is that the patent was assigned to the United States of America as represented by the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. So this wasn't some kind of crackpot lying in the woods somewhere just thinking of random things. This was actually a scientist employed by the U.S. government, employed by the Atomic Energy Commission to actually look at new kind of ways to convert energy. And although it kind of seems silly now, at the time in 1972, this mode of destruction, if you look at history, was actually considered one of the best ways to dispose America's kind of growing nuclear stockpile following and leading up to the kind of in the middle of the Cold War. So here, the what was really interesting is that if you dig a little bit deeper, the U.S. actually conducted tests in Nevada with this kind of process, which basically left massive sinkholes where the detonations occurred, and which collapsed the ground in Nevada. So if you actually go out to the test sites where they were testing this exact patent, there are massive sinkholes in the ground, and so clearly, this isn't really good for the crust, and so the idea was quickly abandoned. But if you look on Google Maps now, if you zoom in over some of the nuclear test sites that are in Nevada, you can actually see the craters of kind of collapsed ground where these tests occurred for this exact patent. Um, so it's just on the basis of the patent itself, though, it's a completely valid patent. Due to its time period and its rather outlandish ideals, there aren't any prior art, and because there's only one claim, there's not a lot of ability for you to really go after it for infringement. But because it was prior to 2000 or sorry, prior to 1986, the TSM method could be used, and there's no other teaching or suggestion uh, that anything else could be used other than a paper titled "Non-Military Uses of Nuclear Explosives" by the author of the patent himself. So it it matches the TSM method for obviousness. It's a novel patent, and it can clearly be patentable. So, although it was a silly patent, underground nuclear detonations for power was considered in 1972 one of the funniest ways to get power. And now that we look at it 40 years later, it's kind of funny, but hey, that's life.